Jack and I hope you enjoy this film. Subscribe, follow my social medias. Patreon is around. Okay, bye. Enjoy. The Dollar Tree, the pinnacle of art itself. I passed this when I was buying some shipping materials and I thought, you know what? Let's do a collab. So this is what looks like a canvas board, but is more like unto paper, and we are going to be working on it today. I will not be restricting myself to dollar store materials. Think of this more as a collab between me and this image, this line art drawing. To reinforce this cheap material, I decided to put a base coat of acrylic medium, try to build up a little bit more strength on that surface before I just rip it up with my materials. And then I decided to use my acrylics, my brushes. Honestly, anyone who tries to make you use one of those brushes can just you know what? They can try it themselves and cry about it and then learn their lesson. I wasn't sure what exactly I was going to do on this. I know I wanted to maintain some emblematic elements of the original image, so we started out by just getting a general coverage and then going into some visual research to get ideas on our collab. The very first thing I wanted to do is take a look at this Instagram artist who I've been vibing lately. I'm really into his western scenes, and he makes some pretty epic clouds. So I thought, why not play into that, bring it a little bit into my work, and make some puffy, nice shapes, trying to go in a somewhat similar style to what he's accomplished in this painting. And, you know, throughout the process of this, I will add on to our cloud detailing, but this was a real nice place to start. I did keep some more of the swirling motion down below than I ended up keeping in these clouds up above, but I thought going in with some real nice defined clouds would help give us some of the effects I wanted of merging together some of my style and also the style of this dollar store image. Again, because this is kind of like a collab, I'm trying to find the right balance of me and the dollar store drawing, so it's a general molding process to try to get some of those shapes and colors down and finesse where I want to bring this as a whole visual piece. I wanted to bring in some more naturalistic looking, realistic looking elements, so I'm bringing that in with the clouds and the water. And if you saw one of my recent videos, I referenced the same artist, but I wanted to look at his water as a way to get visual ideas for how I might put luminosity into that and develop kind of the background of the water in a more realistic way so that I could preserve those big swirling effects of the foreground waves and still have the reflections of my interest in realism. So a lot of that came in with putting in these brighter, more green-orange colors and then the detailing of the white cresting foam. I used this paper as a straight edge a couple of times in this. I wanted to get straight lines of light streaking out to echo what was in the original drawing, but I knew I was going to do it in a different style, so this is the beginning of that process. I also use that straight edge to define the lines of our lighthouse, and you can see that I would just go in layer by layer and pull the sides down so I could create a real straight edge. I wanted to create a curving shape to this, so there is a bit of dimension thrown in by having a darker siding and a more light highlight in the middle. I could not figure out where I found this image. I think it might have been something from a Walmart prints. But this was an initial big visual inspiration for me. I liked the coloration, the color scheme, the green in the water. That's something I referenced as well for my background waves. But of course that red and white, I thought it was fun, a real kind of stereotypical idea of a lighthouse, and I liked the weathered and sort of rusted look of it. So those are things I tried to bring in for this. I glazed over my colors and allowed it to develop in a couple of steps, bringing more vibrancy, and as I went along the process. A huge inspiration for this from the get-go was Van Gogh. I thought about the swirling shapes in his Starry Night and how that related to some of the forms in this image I had picked up. And I also had been looking at one of my followers' images and really was impressed by the impressionistic inclusion of colors, and I wanted to kind of tap into that because I thought it would be an interesting take on preserving some more illustrative feeling, but also going into depth of color and challenging the way I normally work stylistically. I knew I needed to make a bold move at this step, so I brought in an image I saw recently of my nephew where there are very striking clouds in the sky, and I thought that would help this compositionally to give it a little bit more realism in the sky and change up some of the texture. We have the more strong shaped clouds in the foreground, and then the ones right behind it, it's a bit softer and more streaking. I wanted to make sure that I was keeping consistent light on my clouds and having the brightest parts beyond that left outer edge, and to also take those streaking lights coming out of the lighthouse with a bit of a mystical element and have that cast light across the top of our composition. This final stage of the painting is always a favorite and most important one. It is where you go in with your detailing and really accentuate your colors, saturation, contrast, highlights, and clean up the image. That is everything you want. Punch up color in areas, add mystical elements, accentuate, exaggerate, brighten, and just generally finesse the image. The dollar store canvas board presented minor issues in that I had to work with a little bit of tearing that took place and be careful about my dry time to not oversaturate that first layer of paper I was working on top of. But in the end, I was super happy with this, and it reminded me greatly of work I've done with children, where I do a collaboration and try to keep the best of both our worlds combined into the image. So here's what we got for our dollar store Robin collab. If you want to work with some interesting creative constraints sometimes, shake up your practice, hey, why not? Hit up a dollar store. I hope you guys have a great week and enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Bye!